I get asked a lot of questions in the comments regarding owning a condo and all the different ins and outs regarding owning a condo. So today I figured I would make a dedicated video on this topic. And I'm going to be breaking these down into 5 different categories, starting with buying and selling, moving on to ownership, we'll talk about maintenance, then we'll talk about the rules, and then finally we'll top it off with daily life and living in a condo. And I'm going to try to get through these points as quickly as I can because I have a lot of information to share with you guys in today's video. Now, before we get started, I want to give a quick thank you to today's video sponsor, who is www.findyourflorida.net. If you guys are looking to move to Florida and you want to research the best cities in Florida and all the unique features they have to offer, then go ahead and visit this website. I highly recommend it. It's a valuable resource for you if you're looking to move to Florida. There's a lot of great information on this website and I highly recommend checking it out, and I will put a link for it right down below in the description. So let's first start off with the buying and selling tips. Number 1, it is tougher to get financing for a condo than it is for a house. And this has pretty much always been true. And a lot of times you'll have to put down 20% or more on most condos. There are instances where you can buy a condo with an FHA loan, but that's pretty rare. And sometimes you'll also be able to buy with a lower down payment, maybe 10%, but that is also very rare. So most of the time, you're going to have to put down more money if you're going to buy a condo instead of a single family home. Number 2, on the flip side, a condo is almost always cheaper than a single family home in the same area, especially. If you look at Miami Beach, it's a perfect example. We have more condos here than houses, and they are much more affordable than any of the actual houses in the area. Condos here start in the low 100s and houses start in the low 500s. So the price contrast is huge, and it's much easier to get into a condo, especially if you're a first-time home buyer versus a single family home. But in some areas where houses are much more affordable, that's not the case, and you can actually buy a house for maybe the same price as a condo in different areas. Number 3, make sure the property looks okay. And what I mean by this, just do a spot check, walk around the common areas, walk around the exterior of the building, see if there's any signs of water damage or things are clean, or if you see that there's always constant construction going on. Pay attention to those type of things because that's going to end up costing you big time if you end up deciding to move to the building and you find out there's a ton of deferred maintenance, or they just have a lot of problems that have been unsolved because people don't have the money to pay for those problems. So you don't want to get into that situation. Number 4, make sure the building is in good financial shape. And this is how you do this. Before you buy the condo, you request the current owner to give you the building's financial reports, and so that gives you time to look over the building's financials and see how well the building's being managed financially, see if they have any reserve funds in case of an emergency, to see how much money they're spending on different things in their entire operating budget, and that will give you a very clear picture of how well the building's being managed financially. So now let's move on to ownership. This is meaning like once you've actually bought the condo and some things that are going to apply to you once you actually own the unit. Number 1, you will need a separate homeowner's insurance policy, even though the building actually carries their own master insurance policy. And the reason for this is the master insurance policy covers all the exterior and all the common elements in case there's a major disaster such as a hurricane. But say a window breaks during the hurricane and damages the inside of your unit, then that would be your responsibility and you would need to make a claim against your own personal insurance. Now, the only time you wouldn't have to have your own insurance policy is if you have bought the place cash and you opt not to have your own insurance. And that's just taking a risk, and you're just saying that, hey, if something happens, I will cover it out of my own pocket. But if you get a mortgage on a condo, they will require that you have your own homeowner's insurance policy. Number 2, you only own your individual unit, meaning when you walk through the door of your unit, that's how much of the building you own, and you just own a very small percentage of the rest of the common elements of the building, like the pool and the gym and the parking garage, along with all the other owners in the building. Number 3, The building or the condo association must approve any type of purchase or sale of the unit. So when you want to purchase the unit, they're going to have to approve the purchase as you as the buyer. And also on the flip side, whenever you own the unit and you want to sell it, they are going to have to approve the new buyer and approve the sale of your unit. Number 4, you will have to pay a monthly maintenance fee on top of your monthly mortgage, taxes, and insurance. And this gets paid directly to the condo association to pay for all of the different maintenance that needs to happen around the building, such as the building's insurance, the cleaning staff, maintaining the inside and the outside, maintaining the pool, and all of that good stuff. Number 5, a condo is not the same as a co-op. You can't tell the difference just by looking at them, but the way that you own them legally is a little bit different. I'm not going to get into all the differences in this video. I may make a video separately on that topic sometime in the future. We'll see. Number 6, you do have the opportunity to become one of the board of directors if you own a unit in the building. And the reason why you would want to do this is if you want to have a more hands-on approach on what's happening in the day-to-day operations of the building. But just know this is not a paid position or anything like that. It's something you need to volunteer your own time for. But a lot of people that have more time on their hands and want to be more involved in the everyday decisions of the building opt to become one of the board members, so that way they're able to be more informed on what's happening and have more of a say-so. However, being on the board of directors does not give you free reign or anything like that. You're not the king of the building. Any major decisions still need to be passed by the board of directors, in a majority vote, and by the condo unit owners in a majority vote as well. Number 7, you are subject to special assessments. And a special assessment is an extra fee or monthly payment that you will need to pay on top of your already HOA fee that you need to pay, and this is also in addition to your monthly mortgage, taxes, and insurance. And the reason why you have to pay a special assessment sometimes is because, let's say the building suffers a lot of damage from a hurricane and the insurance is only going to cover part of it, but the building still needs an extra $1 million to fix things up. Well, in that case, all of the unit owners need to band together and come up with that money out of their own pocket. And so when that situation happens, the building will opt to pass a special assessment and you will have no choice but to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, there are consequences to you, which I'll be getting to in a later point. Now let's move on to daily maintenance, meaning who's in charge of fixing and maintaining what around the property. Number 1, many of the daily maintenance tasks around the building are performed by the building staff, such as cleaning the floors in the hallways and pest control and maintaining the pool and all the things that you would normally have to do if you lived in a house. This is done by the building staff, so you don't have to do any of this. Besides keeping your own unit clean, you don't really need to do anything when it comes to building maintenance. And number 2, when it comes to maintenance, realize that a lot of the maintenance problems that exist in the building are outside of your hands. So if the roof starts leaking, you're not going to be going up on the roof and starting to fix that, in a thunderstorm. Or if the elevator breaks down suddenly, you're not going to have to get in there and repair it. Those are all things that are done by the building, and there are some advantages and disadvantages to that. Now, on the one hand, that's good because you don't have to get your hands dirty, but on the other hand, it might not be so good because it can be very expensive to have some of these things done, and how it's done and how much it costs is pretty much outside of your control as a condo unit owner. That was a pretty short section, so let's jump into the rules, which is much longer. Number 1, and this is the point I was saying I was going to get to earlier. The HOA or the condo association can foreclose on you. And how or why would they be able to foreclose on you? If you stop paying your maintenance fee for a certain period of time, they can place a lien on your property and eventually foreclose. If you don't pay your special assessment, the same is also true. They can actually place a lien on your property for the amount of that special assessment due and even foreclose on your unit. So the last thing you want to do is stop paying your condo maintenance fee or don't pay a special assessment, because that will get you into financial trouble with the building. Number 2, most condos have some sort of rental rules and restrictions, meaning they restrict who and when you can rent to somebody and for how long you can rent your unit for. Like, I'll give you an example. Most of the buildings here in Miami Beach only allow you to rent your unit out on a yearly basis, meaning you can just rent it out for a year lease and no less time. Some buildings allow you to rent out for a 6-month minimum, and on the more rare side, they'll let you rent out for 3 or 4 months or even month to month, but that is a much more rare scenario. But that just goes to show you that the buildings do control how often and when and who you are allowed to rent your unit to. And sometimes they even have restrictions like a minimum credit score or minimum income score, things like that they judge tenants on, and it's going to be much harder to get a tenant in a building like that. Number 3, make sure you totally understand all of the rules of the building before you buy, because this is so important, guys. A lot of these buildings have so many different rules, and you owe it to yourself to read through all of them before you make the purchase, because the last thing you want is to buy the unit and then you have your friend's dog over and then they slap you with $100 fine because they say, well, you're not allowed to have pets here from another building, or pets that aren't registered here in the building. So make sure you read through all of the rules to make sure that you are okay with them before you buy. Number 4, you will need permission and a permit to make any major changes to your unit, meaning knocking down walls or changing the layout or possibly changing the floors, doing any type of remodeling work. You will need a permit not only from the city, but you will also need a permit and permission from the condo. Number 5, if you own the unit for investment and you rent the place out to a tenant and you stop paying your monthly maintenance fee or a special assessment, the condo has the legal right to start collecting the rent directly from the tenant until all of those fees and money that you owe are completely paid up. So they can do this by law. They don't need your permission. And actually, when you rent the unit out and you sign the lease addendum that's included in almost every single condo application, you're basically giving up that right and basically allowing the building to do this if you stop paying. Number 6, back to all of the rules. Make sure you check, do they allow pets? Is it a 55 and older building? Do they allow kids? Some buildings don't allow you to have anybody that lives there that's under the age of 18. So things like that are very important, and make sure you do that research before you buy. I cannot stress that enough. Now, before we go any further, I want to get into one last category, which is the living category, meaning just your daily life living in a condo and some things that you should know. But just know that I did make a video a little while back covering all the differences between buying a house versus a condo. So if you want to know more about that, make sure you check out this video right here, and I'll also put it in the end screen of this video and down in the description below in case you missed it. Daily life in a condo. Number 1, your neighbors will live right next door, on both sides sometimes, above you and below you. Number 2, owning a condo is a much more hands-free and hands-off lifestyle than owning a house, because since all of the maintenance is taken care of for you, all you have to do is sit back, pay your monthly maintenance fee, and enjoy a cocktail on the balcony. Number 3, you will have a lot of neighbors. Unless you live in a small building, maybe like a 20-unit building or so, you're going to have a lot of neighbors. Like in the building I live in, for example, has about 180, 190 units, something like that. So a lot of people live here under one roof, and this is actually a small condo compared to some of the other ones here in Miami Beach. So just know you're going to have a lot of neighbors. Number 4, a condo will generally have a more favorable living location than, say, a single-family house. And I'm going to use Miami Beach as my reference point again. Wherever I live in this condo is walking distance to restaurants, bars, the post office, the beach, the grocery store, all different local shops. They're all walking distance to here. You can live right here where I live without even needing a car. And a lot of times, if you're going to live in a house, that's usually not the case. Most houses are not as conveniently located as a condo. And number 5 is that the building will have plenty of amenities for you to enjoy. A lot of buildings have a pool, a gym, a sauna, sometimes a massage room, sometimes a little grocery store inside. I've seen all different sorts of amenities, movie theaters, you name it. It does depend on the condo that you're going to be living in, but it's nice for you to be able to enjoy all of those things under one roof without really needing to go anywhere, and that's something you just don't have in a house. Whew. I tried to get through that as quickly as I could. I know it was a lot of information to digest. If you have any more questions or comments about the ins and outs of owning a condo, just put it in the comments below. But in the meantime, feel free to keep on hanging out with me and check out that other video I did about buying a house versus a condo and all the differences right over here. And I'll see you guys in the next one.